Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. And I got bad news, unfortunately. Did you know that RippleNet and on-demand liquidity, which utilizes XRP as a bridge currency, did you know that none of that will be replacing the legacy SWIFT system moving money around the planet? Did y'all know that? Did you know that it will actually be Bitcoin that replaces the SWIFT system? Oh, holy hell. We're going to engage in a little bit of a critical thinking exercise in this latest Moon Lambeau hot jam. Look at this headline from the Daily Hodl. Bitcoin could completely replace $5 trillion foreign exchange market as base layer currency, says Max Keiser. Okay, so I guess at a minimum, at least they're acknowledging that the SWIFT system is outdated and needs to be replaced. Silver lining, I guess. So, I can't wait to run through this. It's completely nonsensical. No, Bitcoin is not going to become some sort of bridge currency, but as we go through this, you'll see that's not even actually what he's proposing. What he's proposing will happen is even more ridiculous. And you know why? It's because, and you'll see as I get into the specifics, it's because he's a Bitcoin maximalist. But he's a major mega Bitcoin maximalist. And it just, the ideology makes it impossible for a Bitcoin maximalist to see the world for what it really is. So this idea that there will be one coin to rule them all and the rest will all go by the wayside, it's nonsense. The idea that businesses and individuals can be shoehorned into the technical attributes of just one cryptocurrency. Mind you, all sorts of cryptocurrencies have different technical attributes. Think about it. You know, are you gonna create a smart contract on the Bitcoin blockchain? Like, it's just it's not going to happen. And then different people want different things from different cryptocurrencies, and so you have to account for that as well. And then different people have different motivating factors for pushing for adoption of various cryptocurrencies, which have different technical attributes. And once cryptocurrencies are sufficiently in place solving a problem, they become a standard, and standards are hard to supplant. Once a standard in life is in place, you're going to need something that's tenfold better in order to supplant it. So of course there are going to be multiple cryptocurrencies that are winners, but Bitcoin maxis, they don't see the world that way, and they are trolls, and they smell like sadness and room temperature cottage cheese. I do want to be clear that I don't have a financial background of any kind. I'm not offering financial advice, and so you should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast in this space who likes to talk about Ripple and XRP and crypto-related things and stories and all that jazz, and I make YouTube videos about it as a very fun hobby. That's all it is, though. Take a look at this article from August 6, 2019. I just want to set the tone for those of you who are not aware of who Max Keiser is. This headline, it says it all. Max Keiser predicts Bitcoin dominance, death of altcoins and hard forks. That's right. They're all going by the wayside. Bitcoin maximalist and former Wall Street trader Max Keiser has recently claimed that Bitcoin dominance is heading to 80% and that altcoins are dying, further urging the public to rotate out of other crypto assets and into Bitcoin. Keiser announced this latest his latest views in a Twitter post on August 6th. And again, this is 2019. Bitcoin dominance 68.2%, heading to 80% as alts die in favor of Bitcoin. The 2014 to 2017 era of alts and hard forks is dead. Don't be the last to rotate out of alts into Bitcoin. So that obviously did not come to pass. There are even more cryptocurrencies than there were when he made that tweet, and some of them are actually gaining real-world adoption, and Bitcoin dominance is down from them. What is it at now? Like 61%? And at the time he wrote this, it was 68%. And it's only going to go down as altcoins eventually hit their stride in terms of alt season. And not that it'll be permanent necessarily, but Bitcoin did hit 35% dominance last market cycle. It did drop to that. And something like that, I would expect it probably to happen again this market. So I could be very surprised if it didn't. But according to data provided by Coin360's summary table, Bitcoin is sitting at a dominance of around 69.2% at press time, and its market cap is at $210 billion. out of a total $303 billion market cap. Remember the market cap was that small? No, it brings back the memories here. Now, in regards to Kaiser's claim that altcoins are dying, recent analysis from the San Francisco Open Exchange suggests that perhaps this is compatible with Ether continuing to thrive. In the SFOX report, the author wrote that Bitcoin has a much larger correlation with ETH than other altcoins, further arguing, quote, "This may support the idea that Ethereum is coming into its own as a blockchain that is publicly recognized as an asset on its own terms, much like Bitcoin." And it's funny because right now all sorts of projects are fleeing Ethereum to other smart contract platforms that are more functional. Gas fees are a serious problem, so we'll see if Ethereum ends up having a long-term viability. Maybe it will, but it's got some serious problems to this point. It's just kind of funny to see all of this here. So, Bitcoin maximalism is toxic and results in ideas that don't make any damn sense, which leads us to this brand new article from the Daily Hodl titled "Bitcoin Could Completely Replace $5 Trillion Foreign Exchange Market as Base Layer Currency," says Max Keiser. Bitcoin evangelist Max Keiser says that Bitcoin has the potential to become the new base layer currency and replace the entire $5 trillion foreign exchange market. And to be clear, when they say 5 trillion, that's the estimate for daily flows across the globe. That's it, okay? And wait till you see what's going to happen. What he thinks is actually going to happen to all $5 trillion of the flows. Where do you think it's going to go? Just straight into Bitcoin, right? In an episode of the Keiser Report, the Wall Street veteran takes note of Citibank's recent report that argues Bitcoin has an advantage in global payments due to its decentralized, deflationary, and secure nature, which are characteristics that put the flagship cryptocurrency in a position to go mainstream. Keiser highlights that Bitcoin's advantages as a medium of exchange in global payments are already making banks, including Citibank, obsolete. And so I'm going to shred this because the idea that he has and how he thinks this is going to unfold is nonsense. But here's a quote from Max Keiser. "It's happening right now because the transaction is the settlement. So you don't need Citibank. It obviates Citibank. It makes Citibank redundant, as are all banks, redundant with Bitcoin. I can trade with you as a currency, and it doesn't require any bank. It doesn't require a central bank." Well, look, banks are going to have to evolve. I'm not going to dispute that, but he thinks they just go away, apparently. He thinks that banks are not going to be needed because you are your own bank, and you just use Bitcoin, and it works magically. And it's despite its, 7 transaction per second limit, 5 to 7 transactions per second, despite that, it's just going to be used for everything here. And so, because again, so to be clear, what he says here is, it makes Citibank redundant. And so it's nonsense because here's what you have to have in order for Bitcoin to take this over. And this is what they're talking about. Because mind you, they're actually not talking about utilizing Bitcoin as a bridge currency. For this happy-go-lucky world to happen, everybody has to agree to use the same form of money, and it has to be Bitcoin. Because you're talking about not having rails set up. Bitcoin, it's the only rail. That's what it is, because this is Bitcoin maximalism 101. This is exactly what this guy thinks. You're not going to have banks. And so you don't need a bridge currency if everybody's just using Bitcoin. Well, that sentence is true, but that's a fantasy land. You're never going to have everybody on one blockchain. Are you kidding me? Because it's Bitcoin is not the panacea that people thought it was when it was launched. Many of the early Bitcoiners, they thought that Bitcoin Clear would just be the one to get adopted. But what happened was that after Bitcoin was created, you actually had an already fragmented world of finance get even more fragmented because you had more and more cryptocurrencies get created, and they're all siloed off. They don't just naturally interoperate, and you will never be able to get everyone to agree to use one form of value for anything, even if there weren't technological problems. And fiat currencies, if you think they're going away, I'm sorry, my friends, but nations are not going to give up their monetary sovereignty. It just doesn't make any damn sense. So, the idea that if you're talking about replacing all $5 trillion, you'd have to have 100% Bitcoin adoption and no other cryptocurrency and no other form of fiat currency being used, period. You can see how absurd that is, right? And so, given that doesn't make sense, if we can be adults and understand that different people are going to want different things and different geographic regions are going to have different incentives to use different forms of money, if we can all be adults and understand that, then we can try and solve the problem. So how do you do that? Well, you bridge the currencies, and you can do that with a cryptocurrency that's technologically sufficient and decentralized and has an open market price. XRP fits the bill. Bitcoin does not technologically fit the bill. And XRP is the only cryptocurrency that's being positioned for this particular use case. And so you don't have to have everybody adopt one form of money. Yeah, if you could magically have that, well, then why not XRP? You know? And look, I could see in the future, you could have a world, sure, where you start to see some cryptocurrencies actually get used in place of money, especially, it could happen organically. It could take decades to happen for all I know. I don't know. But, think about third world countries where, fiat currencies are just debased and hyperinflated into non-existence. Well, if you have in the future a crypto asset class where it's less volatile and there's sufficient liquidity and technologically things are sound, you could have a cryptocurrency or cryptocurrencies be adopted in place of the use of a fiat currency. I could see that happen in certain corners of the world. And then for those people that choose to use that, they can transact between each other without any additional rails. You could do it just on the blockchain for people that are just using that, but you'll, again, never get everyone to just use whatever the hell that cryptocurrency is. You need something to make them all interoperate. Different people have different incentives to use different cryptocurrencies, and different cryptocurrencies have different technical attributes. It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all. It will not be Bitcoin only. Maybe Bitcoin will be around forever, and I'd hope that's the case. I'm long Bitcoin. I own a bunch of Bitcoin. I would like that to be the case. But it's not going to be the only winner, and it's childish to think that XRP is not going to have a role. Or even if we're wrong about XRP, something's going to have to be a bridge, even if we're wrong about that. But again, nobody else is even trying to position another cryptocurrency as a bridge. And most cryptocurrencies are supremely illiquid. Even XRP today, after 8 years, it's still not liquid enough to handle $5 trillion in flows. It's just absolutely not going to happen here. Not a freaking chance in the world. And also, as far as building out corridors, that doesn't just happen by accident. It's not the case that Bitcoin's going to accidentally get adopted and XRP is not for this use case. If you were going to use Bitcoin, even if you're talking about utilizing it as a bridge, like XRP is being utilized as a bridge, you understand that there has to be somebody that's building out these corridors. And because think about it, you're talking about banks and remittance companies implementing this technology, offering customer support, which means this is why stable coins aren't going to take this over either. You need to have a business model that's profitable, or else it all falls apart. You're not going to be able to offer customer support. And I'm telling you, these banks, they do need customer support. They do have questions. They do need help implementing this technology. It's not, unless you have this fantasy land where everybody uses one cryptocurrency. No. You need to interoperate. You need to have additional layers that make interoperability a thing. But it's not just going to happen the way that Max Keiser thinks it is. And it's just certainly nothing against him personally at all. But his idea, if I had that idea, I'd feel embarrassed if I had that idea. It's so off the wall, I would feel embarrassed. And so then the article continues, while the Citibank report sees Bitcoin as having evolved from a form of payment to a store of value, Keiser believes it is the other way around. And here's another quote from him. And they got it a little bit reversed. They're saying it started off as a means of payment and people are looking at it as a store of value, but in fact, it started off as a store of value and now is morphing into a means of payment. That's laughable. That's the whole history of money. So Citibank should know at least the history of money and how money comes into existence, but nevertheless, a good effort, and I applaud them for at least recognizing that they're about to go out of business. They're not going out of business, my friends. If banks need to adapt, and they do, look, there's always going to be a role for them, in terms of loans and this and that. There's always going to be a role. Not everybody's going to want to custody their own crypto. So you'll have banks that custody crypto. They're not going away. They're just going to morph, and that's how it should be. But it seems like not only are Bitcoin maximalists like Max Keiser expecting this to happen, they're gleefully awaiting the demise of these businesses. And that's to me, that's bad. These are businesses that serve their communities. There are families that count on the income from these banks. They're part of your community. And he just wants them to all go away. Like, that's not really cool. I don't like that. I mean, I'm all about, like, look, you can make you can make technologies that result in greater efficiencies. Like, it's not like I'm saying, we shouldn't have had the automobile, we should have stuck with the horse and buggy, but my gosh, why would you cheer people losing their jobs? And that's not even what I think is going to happen. I just think you're going to have banks, maybe some of them merge, and other than that, you just adapt. There's always going to be a way for banks to make money, though. I don't want them to go out of business. I want them to adapt with the times. That seems like a much more reasonable approach, but it's just laughable, the idea of Bitcoin being used as money in the past or today. Maybe in the future, if you can magically have layer 2 technology like Lightning Network that actually works, okay, super duper. You're still a long way off from it being used in place of a fiat currency, though, because you're not solving a real problem when you do that. Most people the world over are happy to use their fiat currency. Adding Bitcoin to the equation introduces complexity unnecessarily. I don't want to do it. Even if it were technologically sufficient, why would I want to use Bitcoin or XRP or any cryptocurrency in place of my United States dollars that are functioning just fine for me? Which is why I think if you're going to have a cryptocurrency be adopted for that use case, it's going to happen in corners of the world where you have a serious problem with the usage of fiat currency. So it could occur organically. I could see that potentially happening in the future, but I sure as hell don't want to use it. Like, the United States dollar is working just fine for me. And I think it's outrageous that it's being debased, but it's still working just fine. Why would I want to add friction to my life? Well, I don't. And so not only can Bitcoin not do it technologically, people don't want it. Not today. Could be in the future, but not today. Doesn't make a damn bit of sense. And so then he said, wait, here we go. Wrapping up here, but as Bitcoin is starting to be viewed as a more neutral and better settlement layer, the Bitcoin firebrand sees the world's leading cryptocurrency as something that could supplant trillions of dollars worth of foreign exchange activity. And here's a final quote from Max Kaiser. Right there's what? $5 trillion a day in the Forex market, foreign exchange, and that could be completely replaced with Bitcoin as the base layer. We've seen that demonstrated now by sending currency from country to country, starting off in one currency, arriving at the destination in that local currency instantaneously, virtually at no cost. So again, if you're talking about everybody just using Bitcoin, that's a fantasy land. If you're talking about it being positioned as a bridge currency, that doesn't just automatically happen. You need to have a company come out and build that, like Ripple is doing with on-demand liquidity and XRP. It doesn't just magically happen. So who's doing that with Bitcoin? Crickets. I'm hearing crickets. There's absolutely nobody trying to do it with Bitcoin because it's technologically inferior. It is insufficient for that use case today. So there we are. So no, Bitcoin will not be replacing XRP as a bridge currency. Bitcoin will not be replacing SWIFT, but XRP sure as hell has a shot. But I'll wrap up there. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.